Starting. All right. Welcome in, guys. This is the Sports Force Live Michigan Fantasy NASCAR show. This week we didn't have time to do our traditional recorded show on Saturday night, but we'll be with you guys for the next 30 minutes to an hour talking NASCAR. If you guys have any questions, please tweet us. I'm at RotoRacer, PJ's at PJFrapDFS. And this week, we're probably going to do things a little bit different. We're going to start out talking about, Ty Dillon and a couple guys from 25 on back. We're not going to go too much in depth on those guys, but we'll do our best. To be honest with you, I've been out of town the past couple days. I've just been really out of it, but I have caught up in my practice notes and stuff like that, so I should be good. PJ's probably a little bit better this week to listen to, but I'll do what I can do. No worries. But to start out, I'm not sure what the segments are. Do you know what the segments are and the laps and all that?
Actually, no, I know it's 200 laps. I don't know the segments off the top of my head, which is probably my bad.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We don't need to worry about that.
Nah, I mean it's going to be different than last week though too. Like you're not going to see that crazy pitch strategy or anything like that. Like it's going to be more traditional. Like guys aren't going to come in the early window or anything like that. Like this place is similar to California. It's way less abrasive though, so like tires will last a little bit longer. Cars don't fall off as bad. So yeah, I'm not really so concerned with the stages. It could possibly affect dominators, but it's not going to be anything like insane like we thought Pocono was going to be. And you saw like the pitch strategy play out. It just happened that Kyle Busch was on the right end of it the majority of the time. And if we were to do it again, like I would do the same exact thing. Like I would definitely be underweight on him again and again and like every time. Just how it worked out, and I'm fine with it. It's just can't be results oriented.
And to start off the show, I forgot about this, but how about my boy Blaney? That was so awesome.
It was impressive.
Yes, it was. To be honest with you, whenever he had the problem in pit road, I forget what happened, or he had a loose wheel or vibration. Yeah, that's what it was. And I was so mad. I was like, come on, another week of bad luck. But
and no radios.
Yeah, no radio. I mean, if that don't show you that a guy can wheel the car, I don't know what can. Then he got lucky on the pit road. Kyle Busch stayed out. He probably should have won the race.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was just awesome. And as a Ryan Blaney fan, I think he gained so many more fans. And
did you see the stands? Did you see the stands when he made the pass? That was like a junior ovation.
Yeah, I mean –
that was awesome.
I've got to think, some Chase Elliott fans are probably going to jump over here to the Ryan Blaney bandwagon and Dale Jr., hopefully. I mean, and again, I would love to see Ryan Blaney go to the 88 car. I'll say that again. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully he moves on because I'm tired of these stupid stuff. I don't know if it's the Wood Brothers like equipment like that's having the problems because we don't see the stuff with Logano and Keselowski, but I know they get their engines and stuff from Penske, so it kind of worries me. But let's hop back onto the fantasy. I had to get that out of the way real fast.
No, absolutely. That's a big thing though, man. Seriously, when he made that pass, it looked like Junior made the pass, which is cool. Like because NASCAR is going to need that between him and Larson. Obviously Elliott, but Elliott's got to win. Eric Jones maybe, but like Ryan Blaney is cool. Like he's hanging out with Junior. He's Junior's neighbor. Like people are now like seeing them interact more. So I'm thinking that Larson's so quiet and like reserved and all that. And Blaney is too, but Blaney has way more of an edge to him than Larson does. So I think people will gravitate to that. And he just tells it like it is, like Junior. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool.
He has a podcast. It is a podcast you can listen to every week on NASCAR.com, which I obviously do.
It's exactly. Cool. That was awesome, though. It really was. Like, you don't see stands like that, like, unless it's Junior making a pass like that. So that was cool.
I was on the edge of my seat the whole final 10 laps, but
I was impressed that he held off Harvick. He had to run literally like 10 to 12 qualifying laps. Like, that was impressive.
It's crazy. But let's not waste you guys' time anymore. Let's get into the Fantasy NASCAR information that we have for you guys. So starting dead last is Ty Dillon. I mean, there's really not much more you can say to this. If you're playing cash, GPP is whatever. I mean, you just have to play him. I obviously think I don't think you have to play him, but for a guy starting 37th, he led laps at Dover. He's been coming in the top 20 regularly for the past couple of weeks at least. And for me, Richard Childress Racing, they're just looking here. They're not the 10-lap average. They're not really doing that well here speed-wise. But, I mean, he's 26th in 10-lap. I mean, it's just if you don't play him, you're probably going to lose money because odds are he does do a pretty good job of keeping the car together. And for me, it's just an automatic play. What about you?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's again. I've said it again and again this year. Like they're knocking out consistent finishes. He's not wrecking or tearing up his equipment. I mean, yes, Dover they did, but it wasn't really his doing. He was in the top 5 for crying out loud. At the end of that race when he wrecked. So I don't know. Like you said, I mean, starting last, it's a no-brainer. He's going to be probably about 40 to 50% in most GPPs. So We'll see. I think I'm going to match the field. I don't think I'm going to go above or below. I'm going to probably fall right in between the 40 to 45%, which is about what I have right now. So I think I'm confident enough in that. I contemplated going just all in on him, but again, if he has a problem early, it's just like, yeah, the upside's there and the downside's really not there. But still, if he does a problem early, that's not going to be enough to get in any winning lineup. So you don't want to give yourself no chance at winning. So I'll probably match the field.
Yeah, no doubt. Moving on here, we're not going to spend too much time. PJ is going to touch base on Landon Castle because I think a lot of people will play him as a cheap punt, but there seems to be some misinformation with him.
Yeah, I mean, like definitely people are absolutely going to play him. The reason why I think you can't, and I have him in, I think, one lineup right now. One out of my 50 lineups. I have him in one. And that's because, like, when all these good teams wreck, their backup cars are just as good, maybe even better than their normal cars. A team like this, when they wreck, their backup car is horrible compared to their primary car. So you saw it in practice, really bad. 36 out of 37. Reed Sorensen, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Seeger, we're all quicker in single lap.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
there's no, like, if this race just runs, like, obviously it's probably not going to happen. But if nobody breaks, nobody wrecks, nothing, there is zero chance he finishes inside the top 30 with that car. Zero.
And again, just looking at the let's see. Yeah, single lap, he's 36th.
Horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
don't do it. Like, I would not play him. Like, just because he's cheap and all that. Like, there's guys up a little bit from that you can play and still get in Larson and Truex if that's what you would like to do. Like, you don't have to go down to this.
And just to add to your point, I mean, people seem to keep playing him, and I forget where he came in last week, not off the top of my head, but he had his moments. I think he got upwards top 20s, but I mean, he seemed to fall back a little bit towards 30. I mean, that's the best he can do. And with Rex and that kind of thing, I mean, that's what you're banking on when you pick him. And especially this week, I mean,
right,
when you have Reed Sorensen outrunning you in practice, something is wrong. So we're not saying you can't play him, but we're obviously saying we're not going to, and we don't have as much confidence as other weeks. But moving on to 30th, Paul Menard. This is going to be I think it's going to be a popular play just because he starts 30th and he's kind of really cheap. But here's the thing. I played Paul Menard, like I played him all the time last year. And it seemed like when you needed him and he qualified 30th, he just really wasn't that good. he normally qualifies 20th or somewhere around there, and that's typically where he hangs out at. But when he qualifies 30th, it really scares me because he's not one of these guys we see that move up through the field. Most of the weeks when he has a car that's 30th, he's going to run around the 27th. That's what I'm predicting today. Right. So I'm going to get your thoughts on this in a second. But for me, I mean, he's going to be really popular, but this is one of the plays I'm going to go underweight on the field just because I know he's cheap and all that, but for me, I just don't see him coming past 25th. That's the best I can see for him this week.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And in the past, too, I think people will play him because of his track history here. But ever since they're going less and less downforce, he's struggled. I mean, you can see it this year, like you kind of mentioned. He's kind of finishing where he's starting. They're not really moving up. I just don't think it really fits his driving style, this type of car. So for me, I'm not going to have a lot of them. Early in the week, I was kind of more interested in it. Well, not early in the week, but after qualifying, I'm sorry. Because, like, Ty Dillon, like, you kind of – not that you need to find a reason to get off Ty Dillon, but it's just if you're trying to find a pivot off that, and he's close in price, and he could have been somebody that you would go to. But, again, it's just not there. So that's really all there is to it.
Yeah. Moving on. So we're going to go to Trevor Bayne next. And – I don't know if most of you all know this, but his wife's expecting a kid anytime now. I think Ryan Reed's on top of the box today. He's the fill-in driver if they need one. And starting 27th, I think for me, and I know you was saying this earlier too, that he was one of your favorite plays. And then I told you that and you started to back off just a little bit. But, I mean – starting 27th, him and Stenhouse they've become a round top 15 car all year long. So for me, he looks, just pulling up the practice here, 19th quickest single lap. We moved down here. He didn't run a 10 lap, so
right.
I haven't done my Twitter check today to see how it's going on Twitter, but starting 27th, this is a top 20 car. He was a better play before we found out that his wife's expecting a kid.
Yeah, I was going to have a bunch.
For me, you really can't – here's the thing about, Fantasy NASCAR. You really got to play it. You got to make sure it's a good play or it's a bad play. He's a very good play. And I think I'm just going to forget his wife's going to have a kid anytime soon. Obviously, that's probably going to be on his mind the whole race, and that could affect him mentally more than it probably should. Well, I can't say that, but it's probably going to be in his head all day today. And if it does so happen, he's probably going to go 2, 3, 4 laps down, barring a caution happens and they can do it on that. But still, I would think they would lose a lap or two. So if you have the guts, you have the conviction, and you're not worried about that, he's borderline great play today.
Yeah.
But if you're one of them that thinks this stuff through, game theory, going all the way down to a wife having a kid, you might want to get off him just a tad, lower your percentages. What's your thoughts, PJ?
Yeah, I'm going to have less than I thought. I don't know. I mean, it looked like he was on the midway meeting some fans earlier this morning, so he's not like literally at the hospital now, like waiting for it to happen. So, man,
so tough.
I don't know. It is really hard. I want to play him too, and it's just I'm definitely gonna have much less of him now. Like for all my single entry stuff, he was in that single entry lineup. Just that's how much I do like him. And again, it was the play off of Ty Dillon, or even with Ty Dillon, so you don't even have to go down to Landon Castle. Like if you pair those two together, that's kind of your place differential, and then you can attack the top, and that's kind of the way I was going about it. And I guess I'm gonna have to rethink it. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do right now, but I have a couple hours to think about it.
Yeah, I mean it's such a toss up of what you can do with him.
Yeah.
if I was playing 50 lineups, which I'm probably not going to, just haven't had the time to dig too much into it. But I mean, he's like you said, he's such a good play. But when you factor that in, I mean, it's just a situation you can't predict. So
Right.
if I was playing a bunch of lineups, I would definitely lower my percentage. But I mean, as a confidence play, I think he's got to be right up there this week. So we'll move on here. We're going to touch base on Darrell Wallace Jr. and Allmendinger real fast. AJ Allmendinger actually wrecked his car at the end of practice yesterday, and I don't think he got any time in his new car. Can you verify that?
I actually can't verify that. I know he was out in final practice, 28th quickest. I'm not going to have any.
Yeah, I'm not either. There was some talk, something was wrong with his engine or something like that in his car right before he wrecked. So, I mean, he's been I was on him last week. I've been on him most weeks, and he just continues to just be dull. He's not somebody that's going to get you a top 10. But
Right.
Next week, now when we talk about next week, he's going to be right up there.
Also right up there in price.
Yeah, just save your AJ Allmendinger exposure for next week. Just don't play him this week. Just save it all for next week. That's all I can say about him. I think you agree too.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a guy that Bubba Wallace, he starts 26, Here's what I'm thinking when I pick him. I was doing a cash lineup, which for him with cash, I like him better than Menard just because I just don't have any confidence whatsoever with Paul Menard. Darrell Wallace Jr., he showed some speed. He sped on pit road like 4 times, I think. That is crazy. That's the problem with him in cash and most of your GPP lineups. I don't know what to say about him because I really want to play him because I like him a ton more than Menard, and I think that car is a top 20 car most weeks. And for me, at his price, if he can just come anywhere like 18th, I think he's going to do whatever he can to keep the car in one piece. That's obviously the goal here. And for me, he fits in a couple of my lineups, which we're going to talk about the guys we really like later on, the guys that are probably going to win the race. But he fits really well in some of my lineups. So,
yeah.
And I don't have to pick Menard. Menard's not an option, so he's the automatic go-to in that range. So,
right.
I like him probably a little bit more than I should. What's your take on Bubba Wallace this week?
Scares the crap out of me. I could not pull the trigger in cash just because of he sped on pit road, and then he sped on the pass through, and then he sped on the pass through to get a stop and go. Like literally 3 times. That scares the crap out of me if there's green flag pit stops, and 1 week of that is not enough to figure out the digital dash for him. So that's scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
He's okay to play in GPPs though, because again, like where he's priced, if people are just going to go to Castle at 52, you just go to Bubba at 57. I'm fine with that. It's just, I have him in 0 right now of the 50 lineups that I have. I may adjust it to have him in a couple, but it's not going to be more than 5.
I might have to rethink this now.
It just scares it. Just enough to scare me that because you can't pit here and not lose a lap under green where you could at Pocono. Obviously he had all that crap. So I think he only was down 2 laps at one point and then got one back real quick. But if you do that here, you're down 4 or 5 laps. Forget it. See you later.
Here's a quick question. Are you more worried about Trevor Bayne's wife having a kid? Or are you more worried about Bubba Wallace speeding on pit road?
Both enough to it's literally the same. I don't think I want to have either one of them in more than 5 lineups, which is a bummer, man, because I really, really like Trevor Bayne. I really like Trevor Bayne. Like I said, he was in all my single entry stuff. I'm gonna have to change that now because that's enough to kind of scare me away.
Yeah. I'm going to have to start rethinking Bubba Wallace now. But Let's move on here. We're going to talk about, we're just going to go down the list here on what we used to do, just give a little bit more in-depth on what we feel this week. We're going to go down through 11th. Starting, we're just going to skip here. There's going to be a couple drivers. Bushard, Patrick, and McDowell, we're going to skip. Now, you know me. It's one of my rules. I've implemented it every week. Do not play Danica Patrick. That's a solid rule in my book this week. And not going to happen. I'm going to go to PJ real fast. He's got a bold stance too.
I'm not playing any of them.
Show him what you was showing me just a second ago.
I'm not playing any of them. Zero. Zero of all those. No McDowell, no Patrick, no Busher. Nope. Forget it. Don't bother.
Yep. Me too. So we're not even going to talk about them. We're going to start with Stenhouse in 21st. 21st, and it goes back to, I was talking about Bain. They've been a top 15 car most weeks. And starting 21st, let me pull the salary up here real fast. Let's see. 7,100. Okay, this is the range where you're going to have to really just spread your exposure just a little bit. But I like him better than the Richard Childress cars, Dillon and Newman. I know you're probably going to be on Newman here in a second. We'll save that here later.
Yeah.
But for me, Stenhouse, he's probably going to go under-owned, I would think, than what he should. So I know I was on him last week, which he was okay. You know, he didn't disappoint, but he didn't, overwhelm me. But starting 21st, this is one of the tracks he's been really good at this year, one of these long intermediate tracks. So, I mean, I could see him coming top 12, be a very good GPP play for me, and that's where I am with him. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a tough time. No speed in practice. That scares me. It's wrecky still. He's gotten better this year, obviously, and their equipment has gotten better. Like Roush has figured some stuff out with him and Bain, and I don't know, man. I don't love it. I'll have him in a couple again, just because I don't want to completely be drawing dead. Like I said last week, I'm going to spread my exposures more than in the past. So yeah, I'm going to have a similar answer for a lot of guys where I'll have a couple, but like he's definitely not one of my core plays.
Yeah, he's definitely not one of my core plays, obviously, but I think we overrate practice a lot.
No,
I'll go back to it, and I'll go back to it like I did last week. I mean, Ryan Blaney was obviously he was around 6th, 7th in practice, and he turns out at the end and he leads the last 15 laps. There's so many guys that you really can't use practice to determine how they are, but he's obviously a guy you can look at practice, and yeah, he's not showing the speed I would love. But I mean, I just gotta base it off what he's done this year, and I like him better than some of these other guys that are not showing speed, and for me, I think he can find his way around this track a little bit better than some of these. So
yeah,
we'll leave it there with him. Let's move to Daniel Suarez. Now, he's very interesting. I liked him a whole lot more before I found out, he was going to the rear. I think he's got a top 10 car. That's how much I did like him. I think he's got solid speed, and, I really do like Daniel Suarez. And I think you can get him I think you can sneak him in some lineups because people are probably going to be off of him, finding out he's going to come from the rear, which is obviously scary for a rookie. But with this place being so hard to pass, that's the only thing that worries me, because if he gets back there, he can't pass, he's going to get frustrated, and this is another risky play. You really got to have a solid mindset picking him. But I think he's got top 10 speed. I mean, that's enough for me to say, well, if people are going to get off of him, then I'm probably going to hop on him just a little bit more. But we'll see. Hopefully he can make his way to the front. I solidly think, he's a top 12, top 10 car, and I think he can finish top 10. That's how I am. I'm probably a little bit crazy about that. There's only been a couple weeks that I've said play him, and I think starting 20th, I think you can play him this week.
Yeah, you can. It scares me going to the back, like you said, especially for a rookie. Like when Jimmy goes to the back, like he is again today, but like when it's at a place that he's good at, you don't worry about it because he's not going to make stupid decisions. I'm not saying that Suarez is guaranteed to make a stupid decision, but it's more likely that he would have issues rather than like a seasoned guy. Obviously, JJ's one of the best out there, and that's tough to compare him to that, and that's really not a fair comparison. But I'm just saying that it matters on your experience level when you start from the back. Like, yeah, he definitely has a fast car, but it's going to take a lot of things right to get up there. Because, yes, it is a 2-mile track. There's only 200 laps, though. So, like, a lot of things have to go right. They have to have really good pit stops. Yeah, there's speed there, and you might get them at lower ownership than you would. But, like, I know, like, we even got a question this morning asking Suarez or Junior. Yeah. And so that kind of tells me already that people were looking to play him, because that's not a typical question that, like, you would get. You're not really getting Suarez or Junior questions. Like, what?
Yeah.
So
crazy. I
think that, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Again, here's my go-tos. Like, I'll have him in a few. He won't crack like 20% of my lineups or anything, but he does have speed. So just a lot of cars for him to pass. And as a rookie, it's just that much harder.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk just a couple seconds here before I let PJ dive into Ryan Newman. But here's the thing. When you talk about Ryan Newman, he is $300 cheaper than Daniel Suarez. And people continue not to play Ryan Newman. So, like I said, RCR has not showed speed this week. I'm probably going to – if I was playing 50 lineups, I would probably get – I don't know. I would probably – he wouldn't crack 20% for me, but I do think he's very sneaky. Once again, he's always sneaky. We can just call him the sneaky driver. But for me, I think – he's a solid play. I think there's not Chris Buescher, Danica Patrick, Allmendinger, Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell. These guys are not passing him. Let's just be honest. So I don't think he can fall back. Obviously, it's towards the front he's going. So you got to really have the confidence to pick Ryan Newman this week because he's not showing speed. But again, don't overrate practice. Just base it off of what you've seen in the races, how much speed he has at similar tracks, and just base it off that.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that does scare me about him is RCR as a whole has like literally no speed at all this week. Like, how does Paul Menard in an RCR equipment get out qualified by Reagan, DiBenedetto, Buescher, McDowell? Like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm actually not on Newman this week. Whoa. Surprisingly. Yeah. Like, I know, like you had said, he's always going to be a solid play, but the difference is this week I don't see the upside that I would typically see in him, because typically he does have the chance to move forward and potentially be on like the outskirts of a top 10. At a track like this, which is similar to Pocono, which you either have the speed or you don't. And with them not having the speed, like, that's concerning. Like, the driver can only do so much, and majority of the time it's the car and it's the equipment at these bigger tracks that's how it happens. Like, it's not a bull ring where he can figure it out and beat his way around and just make something happen. Like, you either have it or you don't. And as a whole, RCR has been terrible this week. So I'm actually not on him nearly as much as I normally am. We'll
Which
see
is
how
surprising.
This will be the 1 week, right? Like, this will be the 1 week that you hop off, and that's just how it goes. But again, just stick with your process and what you believe. And if you don't see speed, it's not that it's just him. Like, it's
the whole organization.
It's everybody in RCR. Like, that's just,
and Allmendinger, Ty Dillon, and Buescher. None of them have showed speed.
Nothing. So I'm not going to be on him this much. So that's really all I can say. And before we even go into Austin Dillon next, like that same conversation,
Yeah.
same
I
thing.
I think we can just go ahead and pop him off the list here. The same thing for Ryan Newman.
Pretty much.
Here is where it's going to get interesting because last week, and I'm sure everybody had the same problem. For me, I played a solid 5 lineups that I really felt confident about. And Dale Jr., I was so confident that he would not shift like that and break whatever his transmission, tear his engine up. I was so confident he wouldn't do that again. So confident. And what does he do? I think it was it was around lap 30 or somewhere early in the race that you wouldn't even expect it. Yeah. Having engine problems. I was like, what the heck? He's having engine problems? And then we found out he did the same thing. Starting 17th, he seems to love his car. And it might just be it might just be he's trying to be over enthusiastic because he's really been down the past couple weeks. But as we look here in practice speeds, see 10 lap average. I don't see him there. So we look at single lap. He comes in at 14th, which, like I said, I'm not going to overrate that this week. I did that last week, and it seemed to help me a little bit. But this week we're just going to go off track history, and this is probably, we talked about Pocono being one of his best tracks. This is the last track that he won at. And if you're a junior fan, you obviously know that you're so ready for this race, I'm certain. So starting 17th, he's Hendrick equipment. They probably don't have the speed that the Toyotas have, and Kyle Larson has. But it's Hendrick. It's Dale Jr. It's Michigan. And you're hoping, like PJ was saying earlier, you're not going to shift as much at this track. It's so big, you don't really have to. But it's Dale Jr. He's had so much bad luck. I like him this week, I'm going to be honest, but sitting here and being confident about it is two different things. I really can't give you a reason to be solidly going over 50%, over 30 or 40. For me, like I said, if I was playing 50, I would have him in 25. I'm not going to have myself killed like I did last week. I was doing so good, and then he ruins it. Him and Casey Kane, I would just like to – I don't know. I don't know what I like to do, but them two have really just screwed me the past couple weeks. But again, stick to the process. This guy is part of the process, and he's a good play.
Yeah, he's a good play this week. Again, it's setting up so nice, like when he qualifies like that, and because the upside's there. It's a little scary that they haven't shown like elite speed at any point. I think in the first practice they were maybe not that it matters all that much, but they were, I think, top 5 in 10 lap. But I honestly don't even know how many teams ran a 10 lap. We'll see. Again, you just have to trust like the track history for him, and they're going to turn around at some point. You can't even imagine really like the playoffs without him in his last year, and there's already been a ton of winners. I think you're going to have to win to get into the playoffs this year for the first time ever. There might be one guy or two guys in on points, but we're already this far in, and no Kyle Busch, no Harvick. They haven't won. So
that's an automatic too. You're going to have to count him because they're going to win at some point.
They're going to win, and then you add the road course. If Allmendinger gets it done, or Boyer gets it done, or Suarez gets it done, and then you are really pressing. Like, he's going to have to win a race. I'm not saying today will be the day, but they have to start figuring it out soon, because this is a conversation for another day. But I think as a whole, his career outside of what he has done for NASCAR as a whole, just statistically, has been extremely underwhelming. For what he was supposed to be. And I'm not saying that as a knock on him. I'm just saying if you were to tell me that he's retiring with no Cup championship, not even close, that's a shock. And I'm not saying he's going to get it done this year, but I think once they get it turned around, like in the summer months here, like they have to figure it out because he's got to have one last chance at this. You got to think like that's all they're caring about at this point. So I think today is where they can actually get it turned around, run a full, complete, smooth race, get a nice top 10 finish. I'll love them this week. And let's just hope that it comes to fruition because they need something good to happen.
Yep. And moving up one spot is Casey Kane. Just talked about him. It's about the same thing for Dale Jr., the same argument you can make.
Same speed argument.
Yeah, I mean, them two, I visited Hendrick Motorsports, and I think the 5 and the 24 are in the same shop, and the 88 and the 48 are in the same shop. And for me, it seems like the 5 and 88 have been in the same shop, like same people are working on the cars. It's obviously, I haven't visited there, but I think that's how they're set up. And you would think by just looking at the races that the 5 and 88, but the 5 and 88, they're so identical most weeks. They lacking speed. There's always a problem. It's bad luck. I'm not playing Casey Kane. First of all, I don't want the headache. You talk about underwhelming. This guy, when he joined Hendrick Motorsports, there were some people saying he could win championships, win multiple races a year, and be one of these, top guys. And what he's done is nothing but a joke. There's a reason why he's losing one of his main sponsors, and it's another reason he's not going to be at Hendrick Motorsports next year. The funding's not there, and I think a guy like William Byron, you've seen what he did yesterday. I think he's going to be in the 5 car next year. I really do think that. So that's off topic, but getting back to fantasy. Look, he's been fast in practices this year, and he just did nothing but disappoint. You're like, why is he not in the top 10 yet?
Yeah.
Why is he not doing this? Blah, 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 blah. Let's look in single lap. Let's see. Casey Kane, where is he at? 13th. All right, right there is the best he can finish. I'm just telling you I don't even think that's a bold prediction because we're talking about Casey Kane.
Yeah.
So disappointing. For me, to play him, you almost have to have him like last week. Around 28th, 30th. That's the confidence I got to have in him. He's disappointed me so many times. Again, it's just like junior speed and all that. You got any thoughts on him?
Nope, that's it. I'm good. Let's say it again. I'll have him in a couple. Just because, again, I don't want to have no chance at winning something. So I'm in a few. It's typical frustration with him, and I don't see this as a place that he's really gonna excel at. So I'm good on him.
All right, let's move on to 15th and Kurt Busch. Now, this is a guy. This is a sneaky play because I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him, but he's not showed the elite speed that you would want out of
middle of the pack.
Yeah, top GPV play. Looking at 10 lap, he's 14th out of the guys that ran. But Chase Elliott's 13th, and I really like Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's probably going to finish. He's probably going to be up there at the end. So, again, don't overrate. I mean, it's just 10 laps. I know we get so carried away with it sometimes. He's got Tony Gibson. I'm sure he's going to do something to hop the car up. It's a good GPP play. It's definitely not something that you'd want to play in cash. I know he starts 15th, and you might want one of your drivers to come from that range. So, 15, 20%. That's the most I'll have.
Yep. I have nothing more to say. I don't love him. I don't hate him. It's a blah play for me. It doesn't exactly get me excited.
It's just one of them, you want to cover your exposure in case something does happen.
Exactly.
Moving on to, here's our guy, Eric Jones.
Yep.
Again, starting 14th. I think what did he start, 15th last week?
Yep.
Okay. Here's the thing with him.
We were all over that last week.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give you credit. I went overweight on him, and it definitely paid. When he was leading those laps, I'm like, man, this is awesome. We finally have nailed someone, and they've not disappointed. So that's good. But this week, it's his home track.
Yep.
He's not raced here in Cup before, but I mean, obviously, he's probably ran here so many times. He probably knows the track backwards. Not really worried about that. Let's see, look at 10 lap. I don't see him on 10 laps, so we'll go up here. He's 5th in single lap. So, I mean, this guy has, I'm going to say it. I think he's got more speed than Ryan Blaney does most weeks. He just hasn't put together, a whole race, He is Mark Truex Jr.'s teammate. Mark Truex Jr. has did nothing in the past 2 years. He should be a Cup champion by now, the way he's raced. Whatever they do over there in Denver, Colorado, I got to give them major props because whatever they're putting in their cars is obviously working. But for me, 14th, what more can you say? This guy he's got so much speed. These cars are so tuned up. Starting 14th, you get a 7th, 6th, 5th place finish. You're looking really good.
Oh, yeah.
And again, he may be a little higher on this week just because of what he did last week and recency bias and all that. But again, elite GPP play this week. I can't say it again. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. I've played him all year long. He's disappointed me. But again, trust the process.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, look what happened last week when he put together a full race.
I mean,
that's
crazy.
That's what we've been saying for a while. Like, that's his upside for sure. And coming home for the first time, coming off of a good run, he's now more expensive than Junior, Kane, Dillon, Newman. Like, yes, please. I like him a lot this week. A lot. He's like right on the edge of my core. I'm definitely going to have him more than everybody else that we've talked about pretty much so far. He's definitely the most, other than Junior, he's like the most confident I am of a good run coming today. And that's really all I have to say about that. I think it's a great play. Starting 14th, so it gives you enough upside there. And like I said, home track, man, coming off of a good run and finally put together a whole race and showed what he can really do. And that's awesome for them. And yeah, I'm going to have a bunch.
Me too. Moving on, Jimmy Johnson, he starts 13th. He's going to the back of the field. I'm not sure. I haven't caught what happened. Do you know what happened to his car?
Yeah, he spun and ripped the splitter right off the thing.
Yeah, never mind. I knew that. My bad. But, starting 13th, he starts in the back. He's past couple years. I mean, this is where he tends to thrive from, starting in the back.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But for me, it's just too expensive. And I don't think he's going to lead laps. I think the guy that much, he's really – one of two things has to happen when you pick these guys so high in price. They either have to lead a bunch of laps or they really have to be starting 20th on back. He's right in the middle, 10 to 20. He's starting in the rear, and I don't think he's going to lead laps. So for me, following the process, that eliminates him from good plays.
Yep.
I think he's just an average play. It's one of them things, if you're with him playing 50 laps, cover the exposure just in case he does pull something out of his rear end.
Pretty much.
That lucky horseshoe just so happens to be in his favor.
Pretty much.
But that's all I can say about him. I mean, there's really not much more. He's not blowing you away in practice. He's just average. He's probably going to be a 10th place car. I think he's at bottom top 10 car today.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I'm going to be underweight for sure. I won't have none, but I'll be underweight. That's really all you can say. This is not a place where him starting from the back, I'm not like worried about him getting up there early and leading a ton of laps because it's not going to happen.
Yep, no doubt. So moving on here, let's see, 12th. This is one of my top plays. He was one of my top plays last week, and it kind of bit me in the butt because for whatever reason, he just disappointed me last week because I really thought he was going to be the car to beat. He's obviously up there all day, but he was not at the top like you needed. I thought he was going to pass Kyle Busch and be that guy, but it never amounted. Again, this guy, it's his home track. He's put together a couple of solid finishes. His car is really, really fast.
Oh, yeah.
He was first in single lap. Looking here for 10 lap.
Fourth, yeah.
Fourth. You know, I mean, once again, you're looking at tenths of a second. I mean, just hundredths of a second right there with Kevin Harvick and Keselowski and Hamlin and Larson. But for me, he starts 12th. And here's the thing. When people see he starts 12th, they tend to just pass him up. So in reality, he should be around 35, 40% just because he's so fast and this is his home track and this is a track he really, really wants to win at more than any other track. So for me, he starts 12th. He should be around 40, 35, somewhere in that range because I think he's going to lead laps. And again, like I said, the guy that's pricey, you've got to think he's going to lead laps. I think he's going to lead laps at some point. Hopefully, Larson and Harvick and, a couple other guys, they don't really dominate the race. I think he can get up here, mix it up. And, if he does, starting 12th, if he comes in the top 3, you're obviously not going to get the return that you would hope for. But I think he can provide you, he's a good play in terms of that, but he's not going to, elevate you to win a GPP, if he doesn't.
Right.
So that's how I am, and we'll talk about Harvick in a second, but it's about the same argument for me.
I'm literally just going to say that right now. You can we'll just knock out all 3 of these in one sentiment. Chase, Harvick, and Keselowski are all great GPP plays. They all have big upside. I love them all. The same exact conversation. I don't have a different argument on either one of them. They all fit in that really good, maybe underowned because they're kind of starting in no man's land, and a lot of people are just gonna spend their money on Larson and Truex, which obviously, you can't blame them there. But that kind of leaves Harvick and Keselowski to kind of fall by the wayside, and Chase Elliott as well. So I love all of them a lot. It's really hard to picture them not coming in the top 10. If not the top 5, we have a guy, Mike, I don't know his last name, but he asked us our top 5 to win every week, and Harvick and Keselowski were in there for me. So,
yeah,
I think that they can win the race. So I like them a lot, and that's just, for me, that takes care of all of those 3 right there. Same exact argument. There's no difference.
Yeah, and to add on to Harvick for just a second, again, I did catch some Twitter talk, but it was one of the top things that I seen. Rodney Childers, Kevin Harvick's crew chief, was asked who is the cards to beat tomorrow. And what he said the 4, the 18, the 42, 78, and the 11. That was his picks. So for me, he said the 4 first, he said the 18 second, and he said the 42 third. So for me, when he lists the 4 first, that means he's got extreme confidence in the car. And anytime they have confidence in the car, they're really fast this week. And we know Kevin Harvick's itching to win after last week. He needs to get in the playoffs like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I think I like him better than Keselowski, so I'd definitely have more of Keselowski, or I'd have more of Harvick than Keselowski. But again, he's on elite GPP play. He's probably going to be under on than what he should. So hop on board. I'd have him definitely more than Elliott. So he's my favorite play of the 3.
Yeah.
But anything can happen, really. So like PJ said, the same argument can go for Chase Elliott. Just to touch on him real fast.
Yep.
Jeff Gordon, DW, they said this is his best track. What more can you say? When you get a guy in the 24 car, this is his best track. He should have won here last year.
Yeah.
What more can you say? You got to have some exposure to him. If you fade Chase Elliott, you're going to be in some trouble, I think. Obviously he could wreck, but, we're not going to bank on that. But, yeah, there's not much more you can say to that. Let's move on here to Matt Kenseth. For me, I think a lot of people played him last week just because he seemed really fast and all that. And that's good and all. He's 8th in 10 lap this week, and his single lap. Let's see, 18th. I was looking earlier trying to see if I could fit him in some just to have some exposure, but I really don't think he's going to lead laps. And for me, I'm just not interested in him. What about you?
No, I don't want to play Kenseth or McMuffin. I don't want either one of those two. It's just not the week. I mean, McMurray has been good, and Kenseth has been solid too. But it's just I don't see any upside this week from either one of them. And again, like the better indicator, because not every team kind of runs 10 laps in these practices, our single lap speed is a better indicator of possible finishing positions, kind of. I mean, it's just a better barometer. Obviously, it's not a guarantee, but McMurray 17th, Kenseth 18th, like, I'm good. I see them moving backwards because, again, like we just talked about, so you have Chase Elliott, you have Harvick, you have Keselowski Jr. Like, when we were all expecting, well, not all, but if you're expecting them to move up, well, guess what? Somebody has to move back.
Yeah.
So these are two prime candidates for me to go the wrong way this week.
Yep, I agree definitely. That'll leave us with Joey Logano. Go to Ron Blaney too. We'll just talk about these two real fast.
Yeah.
Coming from the Ron Blaney fan that I am, I did not play him last week. And I mean, just as a fan, I don't know what it is, but when I don't play him, he seems to do really good. So for me, this is just personal. This is fan biased. I'm not playing him this week. I know some people that are going to probably up some shares just a little bit just because he did win last week. But for me, I want to see him do good. And when I don't pick him, he does good. So that's my view of it. Don't listen to me because I'm taking the fantasy side out of this. I want him to do good. I think I've got a jinx on him or something. But anyway, he's got a really fast car. Keselowski's really fast. And when you look, he's 11th in single lap. In 10 lap, I think he's 5th. So, I mean, once again, he's had a very good long-run car. He's never really had the short-run speed. So the single lap, it doesn't really worry me because it just seems like all year long it takes a while for his car to get going. I don't know what it is. It's just a setup. But don't look at single lap for him. It's not going to tell the whole story. He likes running a lot of laps. It comes to him. Now, the thing is, he's had so much bad luck, radio issues, whatever. I mean, obviously, you never want to be too highly on this guy. It's just like Eric Jones, though.
Yeah.
These guys are good plays, and the bad luck has struck them. So I think him winning last week, and, we shouldn't be talking about him this much, but it's just me. I'm going to talk about him too much, obviously. Starting 6th, I can't see him finishing. I think he's a 4th place at best because I do think Kevin Harvick and Keselowski and those guys are going to go up there and contend for the win.
Yeah.
And to finish my Logano, he's 12th in 10 laps. So if I was playing Blaney or Logano, I would go Blaney. So that answers that question really fast.
That's funny because if I was choosing, I would play Logano.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just like Logano. I mean, 4th in single lap. And here, it's just, I don't know. I think there's going to be more ownership on Blaney from last week. And it's just more of an ownership, like, hopefully play. But I'm not playing either one of them a lot at all. Like, I don't really particularly like either one of them. So I think we can move right on because, I mean, now we're talking about guys like in the top 5 that could win the race. And yeah.
And let's start with, well, obviously we're going to start 5th. Denny Hamlin. The only thing I can really say about him is that, like I said, Rodney Childers named him as a 5th car to contend with. So right there, they get better numbers than we do. And obviously he's 2nd in 10 lap. And he is looking for him here on the single lap. He's 10th. So for me right there, that shows he's probably got a longer run car. But for me, I just don't see him leading laps. He's starting 5th. If anything, like you said, you got to have guys that go back, and he's prime candidate to go back. Obviously, if you're not playing DraftKings and you're wanting guys for finishing position, I would definitely consider Denny Hamlin this week. I think he's got a great car. But since we're talking about DraftKings, you'll probably want to, not pick him because he starts fifth. If you think he's going to lead laps, it's solid game theory play. It's a solid GPP play. But for me, I don't see him leading laps. I just don't see him passing his teammate or Kyle Larson. If anything, I see Kevin Harvick and Keselowski both pass him, and that has that right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, too, because, I know I've been grouping these last, 3 groups, but I'm putting Kyle Busch in, that literally that same exact thing. I'm going to have the same exact thing to say about Kyle Busch that I am with Denny Hamlin. It's they're going to be running in the top 10 all day, probably. They're going to rack up stage points. So, I mean, if you're – it's I kind of had tweeted out last night. I checked out that racedayscore.com, and their point system is actually based on stages. So they would be much better plays over there. Where DraftKings, I don't really see either one of them getting up front and dominating any portion of the race. So for me, I'm going to have a little bit just covering my butt, but that's about it, really, honestly. And it used to scare me, to say stuff like that about Kyle Busch, but it just hasn't this year. I mean, that's why I said I'll do the same exact thing I did last week because they just haven't shown it. I mean, even at the thing, and they were screwed. Don't get me wrong. Last week, whatever the leader does, you do the opposite. On those late cautions, so he was screwed. They stayed out and. But, I mean, what are you going to do? If you pit, then the rest of them stay out. So it's just how it goes. So I don't necessarily blame them for that. They probably had the best car all day as a whole. But,
no doubt.
Again, you see stuff like that all the time. And he's definitely not going to lead that chunk of laps this week because the front row is just going to crush this week, I think. They're going to lead 75% of laps combined. So.
Yep, I'd agree with that. And I was just checking Twitter. There's a competition caution at lap 20. Apparently, it's been raining at Michigan. Yep. So right there's going to be some. Well, what's the pit window? Do you know?
I actually don't know off the top of my head here.
It's just such a big track, so I don't think everyone's going to get 4 tires. So
yeah.
So I mean, that's probably not as big a deal as we can make it, but obviously Michigan's so big, But yeah. Touch base on Kyle Busch, it's about the same like PJ said, so we probably won't spend too much time. Third, I mean, I don't think we can group him with anyone. Clint Boyer, he's in his own other league here. He's so interesting because he's underpriced and he starts third. I mean, like you were saying, this is one of the guys you were hammering down before they qualified. Really good track for him. He's shown pretty good speed lately. He's had some bad luck. Talk about bad luck. Larson just blasted him into the wall on the caution last week, and I thought he was going to go crazy, but that's a spotter's fault.
My man Derek, my God, he races super late models up here in New England, and he's a spotter for Kyle Larson. What in the world happened, man?
He must have took a gulp of Pepsi or something.
He was talking on the other station with the crew chief when it happened.
Oh,
so that is what happened. It just happens.
That sucks though for him. But this week he starts third. I think he's got a really good car. But I can't see a scenario that you'd want to play him because he's a guy that I think he's a 7th, 8th, 9th place car to me.
Yeah.
I think that says it enough. He's cheap this week, but he's not going to get you place differential, and that's what you need at this point if he's not lead laps.
Pretty much, yeah. I completely agree. It's like I just mentioned, I cannot see a scenario where the front row does not lead 75% of this race. So that being said, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 guys that lead the remaining 25%, and that's just not really going to get it done. Maybe at his price, though, that's the thing you have to consider. At that price, if you're looking for a multiplier and then like that's how you do it, and that's what you're looking for. And so maybe he does lead a couple laps and comes in the top 5. Yeah, like you're definitely going to hit for that price, but what's the probability of that? And is he really going to be in the winning lineup starting 3rd? I don't think so. I'm going to have him. I don't know though, like, because at that price, I think a lot of people will go there, but I just can't really do it a whole lot. Like I'm going to have some just because I think they do have a good car this week, but I'm not going to go crazy.
Yeah, 100%. So I think we can talk about both of these guys, Truex and Larson.
Yep.
Let's just try to split the differences here.
Yeah.
What are you looking at when you're deciding between the two? Like, what are the things that you're going to look at and separate them apart? Like, what are the things that – who are you going to have more of? Let's just start with that.
I'm going to have more Larson because – so with the rain, the track is green. It's going to kind of let him dictate where he wants to run as far as what lane he wants to run. This lane is like 6 lanes wide, for crying out loud. It's like this place is huge in the corners. I just like him for that reason. Like he'll pick and find his way around the track to get it done. It's hard to say because like Truex has been so good, but like I've been saying again and again and again, it's this whole year has been Larson and Truex.
Yep.
Like, and it's not really even close. Like 0.007 is what Larson beat Truex by in qualifying. But he's going to be able to choose which lane he wants to start the race. I think that's in his favor, especially on a green racetrack. So I think he does get the early lead, and I think that will play a big part. I think dirty air is going to be a big thing, like him being out in clean air. I think it may not be like that difficult, like as difficult to get by the leader this week. It might be a little bit easier, but again, like with the low downforce and the dirty air, it could be harder than I think. So I just think that he's the one that's going to get out front first, and for that reason, I think he leads more of the laps. But if it's like if he leads 50% and Truex leads another 25%, like I know you typically in years past, like you don't play first and second like in the same lineup, but it's been more common this year, and I think this is a race where it's almost like a no-brainer to play both of them because the upside's there for both.
No doubt about it. Let's see. Are you worried about the 7th in single lap? Because I know a lot of people probably are going to worry about that.
Yes and no, but like, so he ran his 10 consecutive laps. He was the fastest, and it was from lap 1 to 10. So that right there tells you that.
Who are we talking about? Are we talking about Larson?
Larson.
What about Truex? Are you worried about the?
I'm not. Been so good. Like, again, like you had kind of mentioned too, like don't overrate practice and don't underestimate this guy at places like this. I'm not too worried about it, but that is like a reason why I like Larson more, just because I think Larson has more probability to lead more laps. So,
yeah. So, what do you think your exposure is going to be to Truex?
To Truex is going to be, I want to say, I actually have it. I want to say it's between 40 and 50. And then Larson is more along the lines of, I want to say it's over 60, but it's under 70. It's somewhere in there. So
you're planting your flag in those two this week.
Pretty much, yeah. And then you hope you get some place differential guys, yeah.
For a GPP or in cash, let's talk about this. Do you want both of those guys in cash?
No.
Or would you rather have those in GPP?
GPP.
Is it just a GPP only strategy here?
Pretty much, yeah. You got to play Larson in cash.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Because,
that's
like,
what I'm doing.
Your cash lineup is going to be probably, Dylan, maybe Menard, like maybe, I don't know, but it has to be. You're gonna have money because Dylan's cheap. If you end up playing Castle, like you're gonna be just jam in Larson. Like, I think you have to.
Yeah, I think you got to plug in Larson, then you go Dillon, and then you got to pick your 4 drivers. Essentially,
like,
a four driver cash on it this week.
Pretty much, yeah. And like for me, it'll be like Junior.
Yep, me too.
It would have been Bane. Might still be Bane. I don't know.
Oh.
But yeah. Keselowski, like.
That's exactly what I'm doing. So,
yeah.
With that being said, we've covered everybody. And as you guys know, if you watch us, you know what we're about to do. We're about to pick our most DK points scored, and we're going to pick our race winner. This week, it's probably going to be a little bit easier. But I'll kick it to PJ first to start out this. Who do you have scoring the most DK points?
Larson. I just think he leads too many laps for it not to come to fruition.
I would agree with that. I'll try to be different here, but obviously that's my go-to pick.
Yeah.
If I was saying second, I would probably have to say I think Harvick's going to lead some laps there at some point. So with him starting where he's at, if he leads some laps, he definitely could have a chance.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would think he'd have to have Larson have some trouble to really get the most DK points.
Right.
And for my race winner, I'm just going to go ahead and knock it out real fast. I try to be different when I pick race winners every week. But obviously, I think the consensus pick's Kyle Larson.
Yeah,
correct?
Let's knock out Larson. Let's forget it. Like, that's the consensus pick. Let's pick somebody else.
If I was picking, my backup, I think it's gonna be like last week. We're gonna see something late in the race, and it's gonna stack the field up a little bit different than what it should be.
Yep.
So for me, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna implement that into who I'm about to pick, and I'm gonna say we have another new race winner. I'm gonna say we have back-to-back first-time winners. I'm going to go Chase Elliott. I think he's bound to be in the top 5 all day, if not 6th, 7th. He's just so good here. Alan Gustafson is going to do whatever he can do to get this guy up there because they know this is probably their best chance to win. I know they're solid most places, but let's be honest. Jeff Gordon didn't shy away from it. The whole Fox crew would agree this is the track. If he's going to win, this is where he's going to win. So I think when they race here again? I know it's not too far away.
I honestly forget. I want to say it's in the Chase. Do they race here in the Chase? It's close to it. I'm not 100% positive, and I probably should know that. I'm almost positive though it is in the Chase, but we would have to check back. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull it up now,
but just back to it. This is the track. If he wins this year, I think this is going to be it. So let's just say something crazy happens. We're taking Kyle Larson out of it because everybody agrees Kyle Larson is probably going to be the race winner. But that's just a crazy strategy type of pick that I'm going to say. Well, I don't think he's probably going to lead much laps at all.
Right.
As much as I'd like to see him lead laps and win, I think he's going to get up there with some. He may take 2 tires and whole field stacks up, but whatever. That's what I'm going to go with. What about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to take your strategy with something maybe not something like real crazy, but a crew chief will play a part in it. And my crew chief is going to be Paul Wolf, and Brad Keselowski will win the race because not only do they have speed, but with Paul Wolf on the box, it's just a good setup. And I was tempted to take Eric Jones.
Yeah, me too. That's
like real close. So I think like if you guys are looking for, kind of the sleeper, I think it's Eric Jones this week, but I really, really like to win the race. Larson, Truex, Harvick, Keselowski.
Yep. That's my 4.
Throw in either, whatever. I don't really see Kyle Busch winning the race, but
he's got speed, but
yeah.
I think those other cars are just a little bit better than him.
Yeah, like I really do think it's gonna be really hard for anybody to get the better of Larson today.
I would definitely agree.
So
that'll wrap it up for us. Again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry we couldn't get our recorded show in. It's my fault. Like I said, I've been out of town the past couple days taking care of a couple stuff, but we should be good to go next weekend. I don't want to guarantee it. We will have a show, but I don't know what day it'll be. But again, if you're watching on the YouTube, thank you guys. If you could subscribe, we continue to grow. I say this every week, and I got to thank you guys so much because we went from 103 to I think it was 114. So at this rate, I think we're going to get to 150 before Daytona. Our goal is to get to 100 by Daytona. So if we can get to 150, that would be awesome. If you guys enjoyed the show, if you guys just enjoy us on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, hit us up with the subscribe, follow button. You can follow me on Twitter at RotoRacer. You can follow PJ on Twitter at PJFrapDFS. And if you guys have any questions, be sure to hit up the Sports Force on Twitter. I'll be the one directing. PJ will look at it. I'll look at it. We'll do our best. We answer any and all questions. We don't care how crazy they are. Just ask them. We'll answer. We'll give you the best answer we can. With that being said, do you have any closing remarks?
Not really. I mean, happy Father's Day to everybody, out there. If we do have fathers listening, special day. So go spend some time with your dads and just enjoy the race. Don't fade Larson.
Yeah, I think that's very solid information. But again, thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Good luck, guys.